Hey, I want to hear. We all know what happened at ESPN. We're done with rehashing. Let's move this forward. And the first thing is Indiana's a 30-point underdog at home.
Wait, what? Sports? What are you talking about? I don't follow. I'm kidding. I've been like under the table a while here. 30 points. Give me a break.
You're gonna take them? Is that what you said? Uh-oh. She froze on us.
No, I just said
hold it.
I said give me a break. 30 points. This is not good.
Literally, would you ever imagined it like a couple years ago when everybody in the world wanted to play for Tom Allen? Tom Allen was the guy. I'd have thought, all right, Indiana's going to be a 10-point underdog. Anyway, I wore my Indiana for you because, well, you are Miss Indiana. Congratulations.
Thank you. I haven't been back on campus in a really long time. Kind of makes me sad. So I need Indiana. But before I go to Bloomington, I'll come to Indy and say hi to you.
I would hope that you would, lady. All right, let's get into it. What's next for you? Where are we headed? We know what happened, and congratulations, free at last. But what's next? What's happening with you right now? What's your life like?
A lot of interviews like this, which is so strange to be on the receiving end. I'm used to asking the questions. I don't know if I like this side as much. In general, a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and I'm a little overwhelmed by it, to be honest with you. It's been almost 17 years since I've, looked for another job. So I'm a little uncomfortable, but, it's funny. Last week I was in Tuscaloosa. I had a previously planned engagement to speak to the Alabama football team. Speaking of real college football, like, my goodness. And I told Coach Saban, we got to meet in his office beforehand. I said, do you remember when you came to Bristol? And he said it to me, and I'm sure he said it many times, but it resonated. The key to greatness, the key to success is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I'm like, I've gotten really good at being uncomfortable the last couple of years. So does that mean I'm on the way to being great at something? So I don't know what's next, but I know that it's very important now for me to be able to really use my voice and to not use my voice and be in fear of just giving normal opinions, much less hot takes on things, which that's never been my MO. So I'm really just excited to see what comes my way, because I've never done this before, Dan, not in this kind of a world, right? Where with technology, and we're talking from my house, like, this is a different world with many more parameters and many more sensitivities, I guess. A lot more people are soft these days compared to back in the day. But I'm ready to go try something.
I remember the point when I was at ESPN where I was like, you know what, if I get the opportunity to get out of here, even though I like calling games, and I wasn't the face, you were kind of the face of ESPN, but I remember the point where it's like, you know what, I'm starting to pay attention to the world maybe more than I ever have, and I want to have a voice in it. And I remember the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get out of here if I can. Had you ever reached that point?
I never wanted out. No. I never, ever wanted out. I never could have dreamt of it ending this way. I think that we do change and evolve, and I've been there since 2007. When I started there, my kids were 11 months old, 2 and 4. I don't remember much. It was kind of crazy times in my life, and awesome times. I wish my kids were still that age, to be honest with you, because now they're 17, 19, and 21, and 2 in college and 1 on the way. And so that all they've known is me doing this. Through that time, look at how much the world has changed since 2007. We still had a Bush as president in 2007, and now we've gone through a couple more. The world as a whole is just completely different, and not in great ways. So I think if we pay attention to what's going on outside of our little box, and in my case, it was sports, then I don't know. That's not reality, because it isn't just about us and what we do for a living and what our highs and lows are every day. There's a lot going on. And I do realize now, I don't think I ever did. I do realize that because of the job that I chose and how it played out in unimaginable, awesome ways, that I have this voice that maybe I've been afraid of for a long time. I think fearful because of obviously, my prior job in that role as a journalist, right? But now That doesn't matter. Everybody just says what they want. So it's just weird to be able to talk like this, and I need to get better at it because you're always like, oh boy, am I going to get in trouble? Am I going to get suspended? Like, oh my gosh, we must, I think, be more in touch with what's going on and use that voice for matters that are important to us. That's not everything. I mean, you got to pick and choose, right? And I'm starting to learn my own parameters there. It's kind of fun.
All right, let's get into some issues. I mean, because I again, everybody knows the background, so let's move it forward. Sage, we saw yesterday 92,000 people at Nebraska. My niece, Emily Eamon, was the color analyst on it. Emily's my sister's daughter, and I'm so proud of her. It's a proud uncle moment for me. In fact, it gives me chills right now to talk about Emily because I love that young lady so much. But we got 92,000. That's a hell of a moment for women's sports, but we still feel the need in states to sign bills to protect women's sports. Like, I get it, and I'm thankful that these governors are signing bills, but am I wrong in saying, damn, something's screwed up if we got to sign bills to protect women in sports?
Yeah, I think that's what I was kind of referring to with the world being so different today than it was when I started at ESPN. Even just 3 years ago, it's funny. Right before I was here with you and sat down with you, Dan, I was on with Dana Perino on Fox News, and we were talking about the transgender sports issue. And coming off of the soundbite by Queen Jean-Pierre, I think it was yesterday, he was asked, does President Biden think this is fair that biological boys and men are playing in women's sports? And she's like, this is a complicated issue. It's a complicated issue. I'm like, it's not complicated. This is so easy and so simple. And as I said to Dana, and as I've said for months and months and months on social media, it's maybe gotten me in some heat. Like this whole science word that we were so obsessed with during COVID, that it's like, follow the science. And now we're freaking ignoring the science. And I get mad. Because, as a mother of daughters, and I guess it's good that my girls are no longer on that competitive stage in college and stuff, because I would be that mother. I would be lighting people up if I ever saw a boy on a playing field with them in some of those contact sports in particular. And we saw what's happened in volleyball and lacrosse and even weightlifting. Are you kidding me? Let's follow the science, because we know that men and women are very different in beautiful ways. I wouldn't want to be one of you. I like being a woman. I can do things that you can't, and vice versa. That's how God made us. That's okay. So I don't understand where this is coming from. I'm very disappointed that so many people are choosing to stay silent on it. Because Dan, I don't think as women, we've been propping each other up for so long, and so many men have done a beautiful job. At ESPN, they did a great job supporting ESPNW for all those years. I was a part of that coverage and, hosted it. I was the face of it for 11 years until I wasn't. And so where are all those people who know how important it is to continue to push women's sports? I don't think we realize our power. Like, if we all came together, just as journalists, as female journalists, if we all came together, we could be so incredible and make change for our daughters and nieces and nephews and people we don't even know. So I'm really sad, because it's I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar for all of these other issues, and everybody about, the pay equity, et cetera, for years and years and years. If you talk to these athletes off the record, they will tell you, they will be honest. They're like, this is BS. And I have talked to these athletes, whether it's in the NFL or the WNBA. They're honest privately, but publicly, they're afraid. And I do understand it. I understand what happens when you speak out, especially on something controversial, but I don't think we have a choice with this. And if we don't, then shame on us.
I think, the idea of silence is complicit. Media very silent on the issue of transgender. Media very silent on the attack. I think it's an attack on women in general. Let me go this route here. Do you think there was a time, let's put it this way, that if you spoke out, you were going to get crushed? Do you think that time is shifting a little bit? Can people be more comfortable questioning? Can people be more comfortable criticizing issues like, all right, let me back up. I remember going on Colin Cowherd's show 100 years ago, and I got criticized because I said, look, if a dude walks into the bathroom behind my daughter, I'm going into the bathroom. And people are like, oh my God, you're a transphobe or you're a phobe. I'm like, do you think the tide is turning a little bit where now you can speak, not just you, but everybody can speak more common sense on these issues?
I feel like there's been some baby steps with people calling out that cancel culture, whether it's Dave Chappelle and his Dave Chappelle way, which I love, or even Bill Maher, who's so left on all these issues for so many years. And it shouldn't even be left or right. It shouldn't even be political. It's just common sense. And to be able to say something without fear of being canceled, whether it be on social media or at your job, I don't know. I think that regardless of that, we got to let go of it. I have to tell you, one of the blessings of this whole situation over the last couple of years is that I have finally let go of trying to please everybody and that concern about being liked, because I lived my life that way, trying to please everybody. And then you realize even if you do things for the most part the right way, you try, your heart's in the right place, and you're kind to others, they're still going to hate you for a variety of reasons. And so once you realize that that's kind of on them, not you, like if I choose to not receive that, then there's a lot of power in that. And so that's why if you can translate that into speaking up for issues that you believe are important, again, that's when we really begin to make a difference. But it doesn't mean you have to agree with everybody. By the way, with all this whole situation, me and my kids in school, and they felt it. And I said to them, teachers would bring stuff up to them if they're in high school. And I'm like, you know what? Number one, that's inappropriate. Let me have them. Let me have them. Number two, if someone says something, I don't want you to feel ever the need to defend your mom. But you can say everybody has a right to an opinion. And my mom is the option. So I've tried to empower them by never having to defend me, but just listen, have the conversations. And if you are the one that attacks, shame on you. It's just up to us to not receive that and let it silence us, because I was really good at being silenced, Dan. And I take the blame for that. I do,
Your dad, and I had the opportunity to hang with him and you at the Army-Navy game. Your dad, one of the great, not only football players, but people in the history of West Point, which makes him one of the great Americans of all time. After that game, I put everybody that goes to Army and Navy up here. I'm like, it's the greatest thing ever, right? What's your dad's reaction been to you?
Oh, see, look at you. Don't make me emotional. Very proud. But I'll say, I know now as a parent that you take on your child's hurt, even if your child's 50 years old, So I think that's one of the few things that I struggle with still about this, is that I hate that me standing up for myself and others, because that's what I want this to be now. It's not even about me anymore, it's about others. I hate that it has affected my parents so much. And they're older and have some health issues. My dad has 2 kinds of cancer. Because other things to be worrying about than his daughter. So that's the only time I've really questioned if I did the right thing. It's because I know that it's had an effect on them. He is like, don't even think about it. Don't even worry about it. He's like, I'm so damn proud of you. And, because they saw me as this shy little kid who was afraid of her own shadow, who then somehow realized it's okay to just be you, even if there's a lot that comes with it. So he's so proud. And, I talk to my parents probably 2 or 3 times a day, Dan. Like, you're never too old to talk to your mom and dad, and I'm just so blessed to have them, and blessed that they've supported me every moment, even when it has hurt them, and even when they've been fearful, when I would get threats, My parents are everything. I'm so glad. He loves you and your wife. I'm so glad that you got to see why he's my guy.
Fathers and daughters, I have a daughter, and daughters, the reason I ask that question, and, you're a strong woman. I have a daughter that's a very strong woman, but whenever my daughter has a problem, the first person she calls is me. Like last night, She had a problem. She's like, Dad, I need advice. And there's just, I'm not, people go, this, people are out of their minds. Well, you're disregarding mothers. No, I'm not. I'm just saying fathers and daughters have this. And Lee and I have talked about, when we talked about going to the Army-Navy game, we talked about your dad and you a lot. and you could just see it. Moving forward, Sage, when you look at where broadcasting is, when you look at where media is, and you look at people just being able to blatantly lie, like just stand up there and lie. You went to journalism school. You worked your way up the old-fashioned way. Intern, carrying the camera, writing a story, making sure you got it right. How frustrating is modern journalism for you?
It's frustrating on another level. And, I think there's a difference between sports media and news media, and especially when you start to bring politics in and stuff. But it's interesting just how the headlines are written, and it's all for clicks, and it gets you in, I guess. And you read it and you're like, wait, this doesn't back up the headline at all. There's just really no accountability with it. And that's a word that I just grew up with, that I was really forced to understand and then live it. And now as a parent, trying to do the same thing. There's no accountability, and there's no, people have, they have the ability, actually. They're choosing to not kind of be in the middle with how we tell a story as a journalistic platform, whatever it is, a TV network, news, print, whatever. They're choosing to take sides. And so I say to my kids, the older one is a junior in college, and she's like, what do I read if I want to stay up on things? What do I read? I was like, I don't know what to tell you to read, because there's you think you can't trust anything, and for good reason. So I'm like, take a little bit over here, a little bit over here. Then let's talk. Let's try to figure out what your opinion is on it and why. It's sad. It's come a very, very long way. I wouldn't change anything about, starting back in the dark ages. There was no internet, right? And you went out and got the story by interviewing players and coaches and building up that trust, because if you misquoted them or did something that was unethical, guess what? They would cut you off. They'd make sure everybody else in the locker room would cut you off too, and you deserved it. So I miss those days, and I just think that probably the popularity of the internet and social media, that's the biggest reason in the change for me,
When, Coach Knight made me go find his hunting dog a year after I'm starting at guard for him. The next year, I'm like out in the middle of Linton, Indiana, I didn't do it. I didn't want to, so I faked it. But anyway, so I get it. Those are the days that build you. Those are the days that make you. As you move forward in your career, and you just mentioned, hey, look, I'm talking to a lot of people. I guarantee you every network or every whatever is offering you jobs, wanting to talk to you, wanting to reach out, an agent, have lunch, have dinner, whatever. When you look at yourself and you say, okay, I've been in sports, how political will you get in your next forum?
Platform? I don't listen. The reason I chose sports is because there's so much positivity. And I said when I was 11 years old, I wanted to do this because what I felt at a young age, I didn't even fully comprehend it, but enough at 11 years old to realize, wow, look at this football Sunday. You got 80,000 people in a stadium, black, white, green, blue, different religions and politics. Nothing mattered. We all came together for those 3 hours on a Sunday. And I wanted to be a part of that. That has not changed. That's one reason why I absolutely loved SportsCenter until my very last day a couple of weeks ago. Dan, you know that. You saw me, and no matter what was going on legally or everything else, when I was on, I had the best co-host as well with Matt Berry. There's arguably nobody more talented and versatile, probably underappreciated as well. Matt Berry is incredible, and we had a blast because we appreciated what it was and still is sports. And that's something that brings people together. So I don't want to focus just on politics. I think there are issues that are political that I would love to have a take on. But there's so much more out there, frankly, that's more positive and not divisive. I have a lot of things I'm excited to talk about, personal stuff and parenting and, relationships and how those relationships change through the years as your life changes. There's so many more important things that I have shared in some spaces. And whenever I go, how about race, right? And the whole biracial topic with me. I'm not afraid to go anywhere, even areas where that have been maybe painful for me in my personal and professional life. Because I found that every time we go deeper on things that make us uncomfortable, I would hear from people I'll never meet, who said, oh my gosh, thank you. I don't feel as alone. What I said on Megyn Kelly about biracial and how I'm proud of both my white side and my black side. Like that's a topic that people don't touch. And I don't know why. Like I want to go there and talk about those things that I think really, really matters. The key is that they're conversations, conversations, not yelling or talking at people. I get my feelings hurt easily, to be honest with you. I hide it well. So I don't like yelling and screaming, but I do appreciate passionate, respectful conversations. And I'm a positive, happy person. Life is good, if we choose to focus on the good. So I don't know, Dan, but I'm excited to continue to find my voice with things that are a little bit outside the box because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. We're humans, we're not just journalists.
To your point, you're a compassionate person. I'm kind of deep down very compassionate, but externally not so much. But I saw Mitch McConnell yesterday, and you commented on that. I'm sitting there going, Sage, I always equate everything to my dad or my mom. I don't want my dad out there like that. I mean, what are we doing? Like, where are we at with this?
I've been saying that for a couple of years. I interviewed Joe Biden. I want to say it was April of, he had just started, so 2021, for SportsCenter. And I remember at that moment being sad because I felt like the leader of the free world he didn't sound good. He didn't sound healthy, the pauses, and it broke my heart. I don't care if he's a Democrat or Republican. Who cares? He's a human being. And to see what we're seeing with him and with Mitch McConnell, I turn away, Dan. I can't watch those videos because I just picture that being someone that I love. And then I'm like, where's your wife? Where's your daughter? Where's your son? Where's the people that love you? Sometimes we have to protect each other from ourselves. And that's what I don't see happening. I don't understand. And I don't want to speculate as to why. All I know is that, number one, it's not good for the country if you're in a leadership position. We need you to be able, frankly, to do the job. But more importantly, the human aspect of this, you're allowing people to, in front of the world, it's just heartbreaking and it's not okay. And you look and you say, okay, term limits, yes, term limits, all those things. But sometimes there are episodes or, sicknesses that happen, when you're in your 40s or 50s. It's called compassion and remembering what we're all about, which is that human aspect in the family, not our jobs. And that's why I can't watch it. I can't. It's not okay. And I'm very sad for the politicians right now who are in the spotlight without others protecting them.
Are you a Democrat or are you a Republican?
Me?
Yeah.
First person who's ever asked me that publicly. It's none of your business what I am, Dockage. None yet. Here's the thing.
I'm gonna tell you why I asked that. Sure.
1988, high school civics class, the election. I came home from school. I lived in Colorado Springs, Colorado. My dad was stationed at Fort Carson. Came home and I said, Mom, Dad, the election's coming up. Who are you going to vote for? My mom looked at me and said, none of your business. And I was like, what? What do you mean? She's like, no. I have my opinions. Dad has his opinions. We want you to put your own opinion. So it doesn't matter who we vote for or why. We'll talk about the issues. I want you to form your why, your opinion. And at the end of the day, the issues are the most important thing. I think it's probably obvious just on my stance on some things. I definitely lean right with many issues, but not all of them. I don't think that it defines who I am, by saying D or R or I in the middle, right? But I loved what my mom said to me. She's like, don't worry about it. What do you believe? And then let's live that way.
I'll tell you why. That's a great answer. I'll tell you why I asked. All right. Because I think blind loyalty to one party is weakness and stupidity. I grew up Gary, Indiana, Democrat town. My father was a lobbyist for the teachers union, Democrat lobby. And that's cool. It's all good. And my dad taught me the same thing. He goes, look, think your own thoughts. So I ask people, because once you don't, and this is my opinion, you may not share it. Once you don't side with the far left, you're immediately branded somebody on the far right. That's why I asked you, because certainly your leanings seem to be publicly a bit more conservative. But I was going to bet money that you would have said what you just said. I don't know about that, it's none of your business, but it would have been like, hey, look, I don't know, like common sense. What's right? Both parties have the same thing. I just think blind loyalty to one side is weakness and stupidity.
Right, and I think that we're all going to have our leanings, and there's certain issues, that are very personal. It's interesting. I got an invitation at the last second last week to go to the Republican debate in Milwaukee, and I'm unemployed and I had a free Wednesday, so I said, sure. Well, I've never been anything like that, and I wanted to look at it from the journalist perspective, as the moderators and the hosts with Brett Baer and Martha McCallum, and then I like to watch the body language. And as we're all making these decisions here with an upcoming election, I wanted to watch each one of them when the cameras weren't on them, So that's why I went, and I had a blast. If I got an invitation to go to any debate on the Democrat side, I would absolutely go to that one too. I think it's so important to fully educate yourself, and then to not be shamed for your decisions from there. I've never ever, publicly said it to anybody who I vote for, because I just don't think it matters. And then what happens? Unfortunately, people are so small-minded that then they put you in that box that you referred to, and then they say, oh, forget it. And they won't even listen if you have a question about something else. And then the conversation stops. And that's kind of what breaks my heart, because we got to keep having those conversations, even if they're uncomfortable. But it's all about the way that we do it. So isn't it sad, though, to just truly take sides? If you have an opinion on one issue and that means you're this. I mean, I love people that are like, oh, yeah, she's going to Fox News and she's this. And I'm like, really? But I'm used to it now. I find it kind of comical, don't you?
I find it hilarious. I tell people all the time, Biden, Trump, and Hillary at the time did not earn my vote. So I voted for me. I think I got 52 votes in the state of Indiana. I typed my name in for the presidential election.
Well, listen, to me, with every election, it's always been the lesser of the two evils, unfortunately. Because I know that voting for myself is it feels better, probably, but I'm like, okay, if I have to choose, which do I think is going to protect the country the most? Just in a better financial situation, all those very important issues where most of them are egomaniacs, right? Like, so to me, it's very important to put your opinions aside about their personalities and all those things. And what are the issues? Like, I can separate whether they're a turd or not. Like, what are the issues and how are they going to run our country? Because this country, we need some help. And I'm not willing to go down to that fight.
Do you think a personal situation, like, I don't know. Let's just go. All right, Trump's words. Trump's words are hurtful to so many people. Hunter Biden. Are we past the point where we even care about that anymore? Should we be past the point? Should it just be about, like a football player, what's your performance or we're going to cut you? It doesn't matter what you did in the past. You see what I'm getting at? Where do you stand on a person's personality / history versus their record?
I will say this. My dad always said your track record matters, as kids. And hey, if you weren't honest about this or you were late for your curfew, well, then guess what? Now your curfew's been moved up because of your track record here. So I do think we have to pay attention to that. Doesn't mean that we can't certainly evolve as people, as politicians. I got over the whole personality thing a long time ago, long before Trump, And by the way, I watched after I got back from Milwaukee, I watched the, him on Tucker, and I was laughing throughout most of it because of, how he says things. Sometimes it's just his body language. I don't care. We have to let go of, listen, I don't want to let go of morals and values. You know me, I don't. But I think quite often with politicians at this level, you have to say, okay, everybody's going to have some skeletons. Tell me what you think about this policy and this one and how you plan to run the country, or maybe what we've seen, how you've run the country in the past. And that's what I need to know. So people need to stop being so soft and get over getting their feelings hurt about what someone tweets or language. And I again, it happens to be Trump recently, but I don't care who it is. You know, they say, oh, they're not presidential. I can go back several presidents here and talk about them not acting in presidential ways, whatever that means. We just choose to pick and choose which is bad and which is not, which is acceptable. So, I mean, we don't need to go there now, but the list is long as far as presidents maybe not always acting presidential.
I want to get back to something sports-wise, and I'm keeping you long because, you know, I love talking to you. Let's put it that way, lady.
You get to do this. We've been waiting to do this for years.
I know, that's right. Couple of things, and it's interesting because, well, frankly, they're biracial, and you're the perfect person to ask. And I don't know if biracial matters in either case, but have you followed what's going on with Michael Orr? And did you see going back what Colin Kaepernick said about his white mother? I'm curious your thoughts on both of those subjects.
I haven't followed the Michael Orr as much. I did at the beginning with the movie, etc. And he was a Baltimore Raven, and I had covered that team prior. My brother still works for the Ravens, so I followed it a little bit. I haven't much lately. I think all that really got bigger and louder right when I was kind of wrapping up the legal side at ESPN. It was crazy time for me, so I haven't gone deep on that one. I know there's a lot of controversy with it, and what are the intentions of Michael of both sides. As far as Kaepernick, you know, it makes me sad quite often just because here's the thing. It's very easy for all of us to judge, and we weren't there. But for years and years and years, he was so positive about his family, his adoptive family, and how much they loved him and changed his life, obviously saved his life in many ways. And so I just wonder, gosh, what happened? What happened? Was it something behind closed doors? Or was it just him changing as a man and the way he chooses to look at the world and therefore his family? So I don't know, but it's funny. I think the comment about the cornrows and how his mom said whatever she said about what it looks like, you know, I don't think that that's a race issue. I know a lot of people. Listen, my son has longer hair right now. It's shorter than it was a month ago because I'm like, listen, I need to clean this up a little bit. And my son didn't have cornrows. He has hair that's like mine, just a lot straighter. And I'm like, let's clean this up. My brother, one of my brothers, when this is 20 years ago, was trying to get a job and he had cornrows. My dad said, listen, young man, I don't think that that's the best hairstyle to go in to apply for this particular job. My brother said, this is what I want. This is me. My dad said, okay, go for it. Good luck. I hope you get the job. Didn't get the job. Don't know that that was the exact reason why, but what happened when he came home was the next day on his own, he went and shaved him off. Because he has a right to be him and to wear his hair however the heck he wants. And employers have a right to decide how they want their company to be represented and what they want that look to be. Hell, I was told years and years ago that I wasn't going to get a job because of my hair, because it was too curly and not traditional anchor hair. I thought that was stupid because I thought I did the job pretty well. And if they're basing whether or not they're going to hire me on my hair, that hurt. Ticks me off, but if it happened now, it'd be a whole different story. Back then, I was like, oh my gosh. But as stupid as it is, they had that right, even if it doesn't feel very good. So I hate that we make it into a race thing automatically, just because of the style of cornrows. Because I talked to my son about it. My daughter, her hair's too. I'm like, let's clean this up. You're getting ready to go into the job world, and I want you want to look a little bit more professional. I think it's called parenting. That's the way I look at it, the way I treat my kids, the way my dad treated me. But I hope Colin can have some peace with it, because it's been really cool to see the success that he had on the football field, before everything kind of got controversial, and with that family by his side, because that's a beautiful thing. That's what it all comes back to, the family. And they're the only people that you have when the world turns against you.
You're divorced. I'm divorced. Was divorced. It's a tough thing to navigate. Do you consider yourself? Are you the tough parent? Are you the fun parent? Are you both? Are you a tough parent?
I am tough, but sometimes I think I could be tougher. I'm tough. Listen, it's that West Point old school military upbringing. I had to have bedroom inspections every Saturday morning. My dad would knock on our door twice, just like they did at West Point. And we'd open the door and we'd have to salute him. And he'd say, "Are you prepared for inspection?" And of course we'd say, "Yes, sir," even if we weren't. And then we'd have to stand at attention as he walked around the room and looked under the bed and he found all the hiding places. And every time we didn't have something in its right place or the sheets weren't tucked properly, that was an infraction. And every infraction was 10 push-ups. So we were doing proper military form push-ups at a very young age. I always say that's why my arms looked so good at a young age, because I had a lot of infractions. I tried to do the inspection with my kids. It didn't go over quite as well. I am tough, but it's more about accountability, and them, they're old enough now, 17, 19, and 21, to call me on some stuff too. Accountability, consistency, and a lot of love. And I'm a hugger, and my young daughter is like, ew, we have 4 seconds, and then you must let go of me. And I try to balance it, and I still question myself every day as a parent. But she's a senior, the youngest is a senior, and I know that it's coming to an end here. Once they're out on the way to college, life changes, and I'm sad, but I'm also so excited for her. So 2 down, 1 to go.
Right. How tough was it? When it's finally over, it's over. ESPN, we've gone through all this, but you're still there. How tough was it on them as you were going through this? And was it tough on them at all when you finally, I'm done, it's over at ESPN?
Yeah, the hard part is that when I came back from the mediation, I was it was the day that they were leaving for college, my older two. So I didn't. They were driving down North Carolina. Their dad led the way, and they drove in the car together. And I was flying back from LA, so I was heartbroken that I didn't get to hug them one more time. I had hugged them a few days prior. And then talked to them and looked them in the eye about everything that happened. Listen, they knew it was coming. I've been very upfront with them, as much as they wanted to hear, and each one wanted to hear less or more than the other. It was very different. I just tried to be respectful of them, because at the end of the day, I took this stand, I guess, to defend myself, not just for me, because yes, enough was enough after many years of stuff, but I needed the guy preached to them, Dan, to stand up and to not be quiet. And I've seen them do it in some incredible ways and to advocate for themselves, even if it's with a coaching decision. And my daughter was like, "Wait a minute, why didn't he put me in the anchor leg of the 4x4 relay? I've done it all year and I have the fastest time." I'm like, "Okay, we need to go talk to him." Like, to be accountable and to have conversations. And even when it's uncomfortable and scary to go talk to that mean coach, who happens to be a very kind coach. So how could I not follow through with it, and stand up for myself instead of just preaching and not practicing? So I hope that that's what they see, no matter, all the details about it, that their mom, who was a real softie at times, not all the time, not when it comes to what she feels is right and wrong. And I want them to be better than me. I want them to not wait as long as I did to find their voice and to find that courage. And I hope that just by talking about it a little bit more, so I want this to go away, but I also know the importance of being open about kind of why. And it really was so other people didn't have to feel silenced, because it was too late for me. It was too late. I knew I was done there, even without a lawsuit. I knew. So it was more about the principle, that others don't feel the same, because I know a lot of people there and elsewhere that have felt that way. And it's not America. We're better than this.
You just said something that I had talked about earlier in the show. Whenever my son gets a little bit too mouthy with me, I always say, just remember, I'm the only guy in your life, me and your mother, that legitimately want you to be better than we are. Like, everybody else says they maybe want you to be great, but parents legitimately want you to be better. And that's interesting. Last thing before I let you go, you said something earlier that I really fought with. I know people don't think that I do, but I really fought with this and finally came to grips with it. You said, you know what, we all want to be liked. You wanted to be liked. I did too. I used to like cringe at a newspaper article that was bad about me. Like, oh man. But you realize, don't you, ain't the end of the world. Who really gives a shit? Nobody does. I mean, you know, your kids love you, your family, and you get over that. How tough was that to get over? Because you get criticized, lady. You get criticized like, holy shit, I thought I got criticized. You get criticized and you don't even care. And I love that about you. How hard was that to get to that point?
Very. Oh my gosh, it's been an entire lifetime of trying to get to this point.
Right.
And then you realize that they crush you. And then, but wait, I woke up the next morning, I got my face on TV, and I did as good of a job as I could have. I'm really proud of the last couple of years of all this going on, but going out there every single day because I love my job, I love my team. I saw it, I heard it. I think one of the coolest things also that I felt the last few years is I've never really gone back and attacked others who attacked me. I don't respond anymore. I think a couple weeks ago I said something to somebody who's a douchebag who deserved a lot more than what I said, a public figure. I think he also was fired from a news network, no big deal. Not also because I wasn't fired, he was. Anyway, I rarely go back and acknowledge them because at the end of the day, I know that if people spent time with me or worked with me for the most part, got to know me, that they probably like me. And if not, then something's wrong with them because I'm really nice. But it took a really long time. And then when I realized that it's not even really about me. It's about them. It's about how they feel about themselves when they take so much time to think of some zinger to tweet at you or a headline. Again, I have people, they keep me up to date, but I just smile now. Like, man, that's a lot of negative energy that they allow to consume them and then to spew. And it's been up to me to not receive that energy. I used to cry, I used to get really upset and embarrassed, and it would affect me a lot on air too, I think in hindsight. But I think I'm at peace now. I really am. And I have been for the past year and a half, I'd say. I'm at peace knowing that I did everything I could the right way. I tried to be the best teammate and SportsCenter anchor and NBA Countdown and SportsCenter on the road and Mike and Mike updates, like all of the things for almost 17 years. And if someone doesn't like me for some random reason, what they think my politics are, what I said, what my hair looks like, that's on them. And I refuse to let that affect me anymore. That's something I need my kids to let go of before they're 50. Please, let's give ourselves grace and realize that when people are that negative, it's not about you. It's about something in their heart, and that's kind of sad.
I have to apologize, and I want to do this to you, to Matt Berry. I sent a tweet out. Matt is a huge supporter of yours, and I sent a tweet out. You text me, and I deleted it, and I feel bad about that because, let's be honest, the world doesn't – you don't get a lot of people that are supporting you. I mean, you just don't. You get a lot of people that act like they are, and you know this, in jobs like yours or job that I currently have or have had, people are like, yeah, you're great. Get the hell out of the way so I can get into this spot. So I want to apologize to you and to Matt Berry for sending out a tweet that, quite frankly, was ill-informed by me and was unnecessary. I got pissed about how people were treating you. I got pissed, and I will remain pissed. So I will go after him. But Matt Berry did not need me to send a tweet. And please tell Matt that I apologized.
No, I will for sure. He's awesome. I got to tell you, I was a very hard person to support there publicly because everybody, even though I knew I had a lot of supporters, everybody was afraid to say something publicly. And so I give him so much credit. Like, I can't even tell you the talks that we had. He supported me because I was his co-host and his teammate, and we were damn good teammates for 2.5 years. The best teammate I've had there ever, really. And it had nothing to do with our opinions on topics or our stances on things. It had nothing to do with it. It was about trying to make great TV together. And by the way, one of the people that didn't take things as co-host as competitive. Well, oh my gosh, she had this many stories and he had this many, and oh my gosh, to the producer, I deserve that because she got that. It wasn't competitive. It was so exhausting there for so many years with that stuff. He's not like that. He's a gem and he just loves sports, period. And he stood up for me a couple times, and that takes a lot. So listen, our relationship goes far beyond Bristol, Connecticut. He is awesome, and I think that's the part that I'm going to miss the most is every day with him, because there's no one funnier. Like literally, I get an ab workout every day. Our commercial break shenanigans were the best, and he knew he's super quick, and he's just quick-witted, and I'm not. It takes me a minute. He'll say a joke or say something or rip on me, and then about 2 minutes later, I'm like, "Oh, I have a comeback now," and oh, it's too late. The moment is gone. Stage. I could laugh at myself. He certainly laughed at me a lot on live TV, and that's why it was great, because it wasn't a competition. It was just an awesome friendship, and still will be. I think it'll be even better now.
That's awesome. That's awesome testament. And that tells me that dude is awesome. And it makes me feel even worse. I'm going to confession as soon as this is over. They got noon confession over here at St. Simon. So I got to go confess.
I have a meeting actually with my priest in 5 minutes. I'm going to be a little late. So he will forgive me. I'll say it's Dockett's fault, but I'm literally going to hang out with my priest, who is so cool. So I have a good excuse. So that's hysterical. I will say, I will begin the confession for you today. How about that?
Please. Hey, Jonathan Taylor and the Colts in 1 minute, because I know you got to go. What are we doing here with Jonathan Taylor and the Colts?
Okay, you're there. I was going to text you and ask you that question. Like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? I'm shocked that it got to this point. Did anything happen yesterday? Like, is there any more news? Because, hello, any team would love to have that talent in the backfield. And I mean, they need him there. He obviously wants to be there.
The question that I got people inside there, and I swear to God, I had a guy tell me, Dan, I swear to God, I don't know if he's hurt or not. And that's the biggest question, isn't it? Like, do you want to play? Do you not want to play? Are you? Because Ballard said this. Ballard was asked about him removing the franchise tag, and Taylor would have come in, which means he would have practiced. So my thought is, wait, is he hurt? You know what I mean? I start thinking, if he's going to come in, maybe he's not hurt. That's a big issue, and that's a weird issue because we saw it with Luck. What was his injury? We saw it with Manning. Colts are crazy, but they give good content. Let's go that route.
They do give good content. I really hope that gets worked out. And I know, by the way, the AFC South, once again, I mean, nobody expected the Jaguars that they did last year, you know? And so it's going to be even more competitive throughout the entire division. So, like, you can't start behind the 8 ball like this. There's got to be something else funky going on in the background, to your point. But, yeah, I think I did a whole segment right when the Andrew Luck thing went down, and I wrote this piece. I was so passionate about it and how the fans handled the whole thing there. I feel like, gosh, it's not been the same since. Recently, we went through all the quarterbacks that they've had since, and my goodness, it's time. And if they can't figure that out, they're going to be a nothing in the division. I mean, right? Isn't that what you say?
As a good Catholic boy with devious intentions my whole life, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. My last confession was 15 years ago. So that's where I'm headed, Sage, right there.
I'm going to pray for you, Dan.
Thank you. Hey,
real quick.
I love you. I can't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Listen, you've always been so supportive. You are crazy. Sometimes on Twitter, I was like, oh God, there goes Dan. Dan, put down the knife. Put down the phone. Put it down. That's why I love you. Here's the thing. You have been so supportive of me as a human being, not all the other crap. And I think that that's what I love about you and about so many people in the state of Indiana, down in Bloomington. And throughout the industry too, where it's about the human element. And I hope that we can all just focus more on that. But thank you for always caring about me and being kind.
You're the best. You're the best. I mean, I said before, people criticize ESPN, and that's fine. That's over there. But the people that I got to meet, the Seth Greenbergs, the Mike Tiricos, the Sage Steeles of the world, the producers, the directors, Bart Fox, Scott Johnson, they came to play golf with me. I've said it's the most amazing people that I've ever met in my life. It's like my stepdaughter went to Harvard. Everybody says, oh, Harvard's horrible. The people I met at Harvard were awesome. You know what I mean? So that's, and you are first and foremost among them.
Thank you, Docket. It's good to see you finally.
You're awesome. Thanks. Go see your priest. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. My last confession. I'll talk to you. Hope you'll come back and we'll talk football.
Oh, I love to. Thank you.